Strategic thinking completely transforms how we make decisions. Yet most of us spend our days trapped in the exhausting tactical loop of solving problems as they arise. It feels productive, but it is actually a cage. You are forever putting out fires, never asking who lit the match. Picture this scenario on a chessboard. A beginner looks at the board and sees only the next move, reacting frantically to the immediate threat. That is tactical. A grandmaster looks at the exact same board and sees patterns, energetic flows, and possibilities 20 moves deep. That is strategic. The beginner is playing a game of survival. The grandmaster is playing a game of design. This distinction applies violently to your own life. Instead of asking, "How do I solve this problem right now?" the strategic thinker asks, "Why does this pattern keep repeating?" Instead of asking, "What should I do today?" they ask, "Who do I need to be in 5 years?" Most people live their entire existence in that beginner's mindset, sweating over the pieces while someone else controls the board. You know this feeling. It is the frantic energy of the hamster wheel, the sensation of running at full speed just to stay in the same place. You treat life like a series of emergencies to be managed rather than a masterpiece to be created. You wake up, surrender your attention to the urgent demands of the world, and mistake your exhaustion for honor. But there is a different way to exist. Strategy is not just about intelligence. It is about elevation. It is the ability to rise above the trenches of the daily grind and see the entire battlefield with cool, detached clarity. It is the refusal to settle for a life that happens to you. When you make the shift from tactical reaction to strategic creation, the noise quiets down. You stop dodging bullets and start directing the war. We are about to dismantle the reactive machinery that has run your life up to this point and replace it with the vision of a grandmaster. You are done playing for survival. It is time to play for legacy. Chapter 1. Mental Models. Life is rarely a sprint, yet we treat every decision like a frantic dash for the finish line. We are obsessed with the outcome, the promotion, the relationship, the bank balance, and in our desperation to grab the prize, we expose ourselves to ruin. If you look at the greatest strategic game humanity has ever devised, chess, you realize that grandmasters do not rush for the checkmate. They rush to control the center. This is the 4-square grid in the middle of the board that dictates the flow of the entire game. In your life, the center is your mental stability, your core competency, and your autonomy. When you have control of the center, you have options. When you lose it, you are forced to the edges, cramped and reactive, waiting for the opponent to make a mistake that may never come. You have likely spent years operating on the fringe, letting others dictate the terms of engagement, because you forgot that he who controls the center owns the initiative. This brings us to the most critical mental model you will ever learn: position before submission. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as in life, if you try to finish the fight before you have secured a dominant position, you will be countered and crushed. You are trying to launch a startup without savings, or trying to fix a relationship without trust. You are looking for the submission before you have the position. Stop. The strategic thinker focuses entirely on improving their position. They ask, does this move give me more leverage or less? Does it open up lines of attack, or does it box me in? Sometimes the smartest move looks like backward motion. This is the tactical retreat. It is the ego check of stepping away from a losing battle to regroup, conserve resources, and redeploy where you are stronger. It is not quitting. It is refusing to die for a hill that doesn't matter. To play this way, you must understand the true value of pieces. In chess, a knight is worth 3 points and a queen is worth 9. In life, your pieces are your time, your reputation, your capital, and your energy. Most people trade their queen, their mental health, to capture a pawn, a petty argument on the internet. This is bad strategy. You are trading high-value assets for low-value returns. A Grandmaster knows exactly what they are willing to sacrifice and what they must protect at all costs. You need to look at your board right now. What pieces are you leaving undefined and unprotected? What cheap battles are you fighting with expensive energy? The moment you stop reacting to every threat and start controlling the center of your own life, the fog clears. You stop playing their game. You set the board. But to move the pieces effectively, you must first understand the person moving them. Chapter 2. Personal Strategic Analysis. The board is set, but the player is compromised. The greatest enemy you face is not the market, the competition, or the difficult people in your life. It is your own lack of objectivity. You are too close to the data. You treat your life like a diary entry, emotional, chaotic, and personal, when you need to treat it like a quarterly report. This is the shift to the CEO mindset. A CEO does not look at a failing product line and cry about it. They analyze the metrics. They do not look at a missed quarter and feel shame. They look for the leak. You are the CEO of a holding company called Your Life Inc., yet you are behaving like a disgruntled employee. You take every setback as an indictment of your soul rather than feedback on your strategy. To become strategic, you must emotionally detach from the operations of your life just enough to see it clearly. This detachment allows you to perform the most painful but necessary task, identifying past patterns. If you look back at the last decade, you will see that you rarely make new mistakes. You make the same 3 or 4 mistakes, disguised in different costumes. Maybe you always overcommit and burn out. Maybe you always avoid conflict until it explodes. Maybe you always chase the shiny new object and abandon the work when it gets boring. These are not character flaws. They are recurring bugs in your software. The non-strategic person repeats the loop, hoping this time it will be different. The strategic person looks at the timeline, circles the crash points, and reverse engineers the cause. They stop relying on willpower to fix the pattern and start building systems to break it. This is where the alchemy happens. When you adopt this mindset, you begin to view challenges as data. Pain is no longer a signal to stop. It is information. Rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It is market feedback on your approach. When you strip the emotion out of the failure, you are left with pure, actionable intelligence. A CEO loves data, even bad data, because it clarifies the landscape. If you are broke, that is data. If you are lonely, that is data. If you are anxious, that is data. It is telling you exactly where the system is breaking down. Once you accept the data without flinching, without judgment, and without the heavy cloak of shame, you can finally begin to draft the plan. You stop wishing for a better reality and start architecting one. Chapter 3. Vision and Goals. Most people navigate their lives like a tourist in a foreign city without a map. They wander from landmark to landmark, distracted by bright lights and loud noises, hoping they stumble upon happiness or success by sheer accident. They call this going with the flow, but in strategic terms, it is a dereliction of duty. You cannot hit a target you have not defined, and you cannot build a cathedral if you are just stacking bricks at random. This brings us to the necessity of having a North Star direction. Notice I did not say a destination. A destination is a fixed point that becomes irrelevant the moment you reach it, or worse, devastating if you miss it. A North Star is different. It is an immutable orientation. It is the answer to the question, who am I becoming, rather than, what am I getting? When you have a North Star, the chaos of the daily grind doesn't disorient you. You might have to detour. You might have to pause, but you never lose your heading. This direction filters out the noise. If an opportunity does not align with the North Star, it is not an opportunity, it is a distraction. Once the orientation is set, we must leave the clouds and get our hands into the dirt of blueprint design. Stop making vision boards and start making architectural schematics. A vision is a dream. A blueprint is a set of instructions. A blueprint respects the laws of physics and the constraints of reality. It acknowledges that to build the second floor, the foundation must be cured and settled. You need to look at your ambition with the cold eye of an engineer. What represents the load-bearing walls of your future? Is it financial independence? Is it creative autonomy? Is it a specific type of family life? You must sketch these out with terrifying specificity. Vague goals produce vague results. The universe does not reward, "I want to be rich." It rewards, "I need to generate $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue to fund my geographic freedom." Precision is the precursor to manifestation. With your blueprint in hand, you execute the master move of the grand strategist, backward mapping. The amateur plans forward, starting from where they are and guessing their way into the fog. The master starts at the finish line and works backward. You stand mentally in the future, where the goal is already achieved, and you ask, what had to happen just before this moment? And then, what happened before that? You keep stepping back, link by link, until you arrive at your feet, right here, today. This process does something magical to the brain. It removes the anxiety of the how because it creates a linear chain of causality. You aren't guessing. You are simply retracing your steps from a future you have already visited. When you backward map, you realize that the giant, insurmountable mountain is actually just a series of very climbable hills. The path exists. You just had to look at it from the summit down, not the bottom up. Chapter 4. Resource Optimization. We have been sold a dangerous lie, one that is drilled into us from the moment we enter the school system. That output is directly correlated to input. We are told that if we want twice the results, we must work twice as hard. This is the logic of the factory floor, and it is the fastest route to a shallow, exhausted life. In the strategic realm, effort is not the currency, leverage is. You must obsess over resource optimization, specifically regarding how you deploy your limited supply of time and energy. The average person spends their resources. The strategist invests them. You must understand the distinction between investment versus spending. When you spend an hour scrolling social media or attending a meeting with no agenda, that hour is gone. It has evaporated into the ether, leaving nothing behind. When you invest an hour, perhaps in learning a new system, automating a task, or deepening a key relationship, that hour continues to work for you long after you have stopped working. It compounds. You must ruthlessly audit your days. Ask yourself, is this activity a one-time purchase or is it an asset that will pay me dividends? This leads to the concept of the multipliers effect. A multiplier is a decision or an action that disproportionately increases the impact of your other efforts. It is the Archimedes lever. For example, writing a book is a multiplier because you write it once, but it speaks to thousands of people simultaneously, indefinitely. Building a team is a multiplier. Creating a software script is a multiplier. You need to stop looking for addition and start looking for multiplication. If you are constantly feeling busy, it is a sign that you are trapped in linear mechanics. You are trying to move the boulder with your bare hands instead of building a fulcrum. The strategic thinker is lazy in the most intelligent way possible. They refuse to do manual labor when a machine or a system can do it better. Finally, we must talk about leveraging access. One of the greatest inefficiencies in the modern world is the not invented here syndrome, the belief that you must build everything from scratch. This is ego, not strategy. Someone else has already solved the problem you are struggling with. Someone else already has the audience you want. Someone else already owns the distribution channel you need. Instead of trying to build your own door, find the person who holds the key. Leveraging access means borrowing the credibility, infrastructure, or momentum of existing entities to catapult yourself forward. It is not parasitic, it is symbiotic. You provide value to them, and in exchange, you draft off their velocity. You do not need to own the railroad to ride the train. You just need a ticket. Stop trying to be the rugged individualist conquering the wilderness alone. The map is already drawn, the roads are paved, and the gates are open, if you know who to ask. Chapter 5. Growth Strategies. In a world that is changing at a velocity our ancestors could not comprehend, static knowledge is a liability. The degree you earned 10 years ago is likely obsolete. The software you mastered 5 years ago is now legacy code. If your strategy relies on what you currently know, you are already decaying. The only safety lies in dynamic expansion. We must focus on growth strategies, but not the kind that involves memorizing facts. We are talking about meta skills. These are the high-level competencies that govern your ability to acquire other skills. They are the skills of skills. Learning how to focus deeply, how to deconstruct complex problems, how to persuade, and how to manage your own psychology. These are the universal adapters of the professional world. If you learn Python, you are a programmer. If you learn how to learn, you are limitless. You become a shapeshifter, able to adapt to whatever the market or the environment demands. A meta skill is a force multiplier for your brain. This adaptability is powered by learning transfer. This is the ability to take a concept from one domain and apply it effectively in another. It is what happens when you take the discipline of an athlete and apply it to a sales career, or when you take the logic of a chess game and apply it to a negotiation. Most people silo their knowledge. They have work knowledge, hobby knowledge, and relationship knowledge, and never the twain shall meet. The strategic thinker dissolves these walls. They realize that the principles of strategy are universal. Biology can teach you about business ecosystems. Music can teach you about the rhythm of a conversation. When you master learning transfer, you are never starting from zero. You are simply translating your existing mastery into a new language. You become a polymath not by studying everything, but by understanding the underlying structure of everything. The result of stacking meta skills and applying learning transfer is exponential growth. This is the hardest concept for the human brain to grasp because we are evolved for linear environments. We expect that if we work out for a week, we will see a week's worth of muscle. But real growth, strategic growth, follows a hockey stick curve. It is the bamboo principle. You water the ground for 5 years with no visible result, and then the stalk shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. You are likely in the flat part of the curve right now. You are putting in the inputs, the reading, the networking, the skill building, and seeing zero external validation. The non-strategic person quits here. They say, "It's not working." The strategic thinker knows that this is the accumulation phase. You are storing potential energy. You are coiling the spring. Do not mistake the quiet for stagnation. When the inflection point hits, the compounding takes over, and you will achieve more in a year than you previously did in a decade. Trust the curve. Chapter 6. Network and Relationships. There is a persistent myth of the self-made success. A solitary hero standing atop a mountain they built with their own bare hands. This is a fabrication. In the history of human achievement, no one wins alone. To believe you can strategize your way to the top in isolation is to ignore the fundamental physics of the social world. Your network is not just a list of contacts in your phone. It is your leverage. We must view relationships as force multipliers. In military terms, a force multiplier is a factor that dramatically increases the effectiveness of a group, like a radio that allows a small squad to call in an airstrike. In your life, the right relationship is that radio. A single introduction, a single mentorship, or a single partnership can accomplish what 10 years of solitary grinding could not. You are limited by your own 24 hours, but your network's time is infinite. When you align with others, you are no longer a single unit. You are a legion. But here is where most people fail. They approach networking like hunters, looking to extract value immediately. They ask, "What can you do for me?" This smells of desperation and drives high-value people away. The strategic thinker approaches relationships as a farmer, not a hunter. The core principle is simple: give value first. You must deposit capital into the relationship bank account before you ever attempt to make a withdrawal. This means solving problems for others without immediate expectation of return. It means connecting two people who need each other. It means sharing knowledge freely. When you lead with generosity, you trigger the psychological law of reciprocity. You become a resource, not a liability. You stop being a person who wants something and become a person who offers something. This subtle shift changes the dynamic of every room you enter. Over time, this cultivation creates a living ecosystem. Your network ceases to be a static Rolodex and becomes a dynamic, breathing organism that sustains you. An ecosystem is self-reinforcing. Opportunities begin to find you rather than you chasing them. Information flows to you before it hits the public domain. In a healthy ecosystem, if you fall, the net catches you. If you need to scale, the resources are already there. You are building a web of trust and competence that surrounds you like a fortress. The strategic thinker knows that their net worth is a lagging indicator of their network, but not just in financial terms, in terms of intellectual and emotional capital. You are curating the minds that will shape your future. Choose them with the same rigor you choose your investments. Chapter 7. Health and focus. You can have the grandest vision, the sharpest blueprint, and the most powerful network, but if your biological machine is broken, you have nothing. Strategy requires high-level cognitive function. It requires the ability to simulate complex futures and regulate emotional impulses. You cannot do this if you are sleep-deprived, fueled by sugar, and running on cortisol. We need to stop treating our bodies like rental cars we are trying to return with an empty tank. We must shift our focus to energy management. Time is a finite resource. Energy is renewable, but only if managed correctly. The amateur asks, "How many hours can I work?" The professional asks, "What is the quality of my energy during those hours?" You have a physiological capacity for greatness, but you are likely throttling it with poor maintenance. To think strategically, you must treat your sleep, your nutrition, and your movement as non-negotiable business assets. Once you have reclaimed your energy, you must deploy it with surgical precision. The modern world is a conspiracy of distraction designed to fragment your attention into useless shards. To counter this, you must master deep work. This is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It is the superpower of the 21st century because it is becoming increasingly rare. Deep work is where the breakthroughs happen. It is where the blueprint is drawn and the code is written. You cannot strategize in the fragmented gaps between emails. You need long, uninterrupted blocks of silence. If you cannot command your own attention, you cannot command your future. You are simply a router for other people's requests. This requires the ruthless implementation of prime-time protection. We all have a specific window during the day when our cognitive clarity is at its peak. For some, it is the quiet of the early morning. For others, it is late at night. This is your prime time. It is the most valuable real estate you own. Most people sell this real estate for pennies. They spend their prime hours in meetings, answering trivial emails, or scrolling feeds. This is strategic suicide. You must build a wall around this time. During these hours, the phone is off, the door is locked, and the world does not exist. You dedicate this time solely to the force multiplier activities that move the needle. You defend this time with the ferocity of a guard dog. If you do not respect your prime time, no one else will. Chapter 8. Decision Making. We have arrived at the engine room of strategy, the decision. Your life is essentially the sum of your decisions minus your luck. Yet most of us judge our decisions based on the wrong metric. We look at the outcome. If the result was good, we assume the decision was good. If the result was bad, we assume we made a mistake. This is a fallacy. You can make a terrible decision, like driving drunk, and get home safely. That does not mean driving drunk was a good strategy. Conversely, you can make a perfect strategic move and still lose due to randomness. To become a master strategist, you must prioritize process over results. You must fall in love with the quality of your thinking, not just the shiny outcome. A good process considers the variables, weighs the odds, and aligns with the long-term vision, regardless of how the dice land this time. If the process is sound, the results will average out in your favor over the long run. To refine this process, you must understand asymmetric risk. This is the holy grail of betting. It is a scenario where the potential upside is exponential and the potential downside is capped and manageable. Writing this script is an asymmetric bet. It costs time, but the potential reach is global. Starting a side business with low overhead is asymmetric. Investing in a volatile meme stock with your rent money is the opposite. Capped upside with ruinous downside. The strategic thinker hunts for asymmetry. They look for opportunities where if they lose a pawn, but if they win, they take the kingdom. They are constantly scanning the board for low-risk, high-reward plays that others ignore because they are too focused on safety or too greedy for a sure thing. Finally, we must integrate the concept of decision stacking. A single decision is rarely an isolated event. It is a domino. One choice tips into the next. Strategic thinking involves seeing the chain reaction before you push the first tile. You don't just decide to go to the gym, you decide to become the person who values health, which leads to better sleep, which leads to better focus, which leads to better work. Bad decisions stack too. A lie leads to a cover-up, which leads to anxiety, which leads to distraction. When you are about to make a move, ask yourself, what is the second-order consequence of this? What decision does this force me to make tomorrow? By stacking positive decisions, you create momentum. You build a runaway train of success that becomes harder and harder to stop. Conclusion. We have walked the board together. We started in the fog, pushed around by the chaotic friction of a reactive life. We learned to control the center, to secure our position before seeking submission. We adopted the cold, analytical gaze of the CEO, stripping away the emotional narratives that held us captive to our past patterns. We drafted the blueprint by looking backward from the summit, and we learned to distinguish between merely spending our time and investing it for exponential returns. We built a fortress of relationships, fueled our biological engines for deep work, and learned to place bets where the odds are tilted in our favor. You now possess the tools. The question is no longer, what do I do? The question is, Who do I choose to be? Strategic thinking is not a certificate you hang on the wall. It is a way of moving through the world. It is the quiet confidence of knowing that while you cannot control the wind, you have mastered the sails. You are no longer the piece. You are the player. The board is open. The clock is running. The move is yours.